Here's a picture of the cat tree that I built, and I'm going to explain to you how you can build one yourself too. Cat tree materials. You're going to need one 4-inch by 4-inch by 8-foot, that's an 8, by 8-foot fence post. Make sure you get one that's really straight, so that your cat tree doesn't end up wobbly. One sheet of 2 feet by 4 feet by 3/4 inch plywood, 16 angled brackets, 4 packages of 100 feet each, sisal rope, carpet scraps, and you're going to need a staple gun, a saw to cut the wood, and palm leaves are optional. So, and a drill. To screw everything together. So fence post, plywood for the shelves, 16 angle brackets to make sure this thing's really reinforced, sisal rope, carpet scraps, a staple gun, saw, a drill, and then the palm leaves are optional. So that's all the materials you're going to need to make your cat tree. So now how do we build it? Went to Lowe's and started off by getting this piece of plywood here. I'm going to show you how to cut it up. So you can buy a piece of plywood, one of the full sheets, and cut it up. Or I went and asked them where they had like some scrap pieces of plywood, and found some smaller sizes so I didn't have to deal with an entire full sheet of plywood. And I ended up buying one that was 4 feet by 2 feet. And the way I cut it up was, I'm going to show you the markings here. Basically, you can cut it in half, and this is going to be the base. And then this other piece, you can cut in half here, and then cut it in half here. So I used 3/4 inch thick plywood. Basically the 2 feet by 2 feet, this is going to be the base of the cat tree. This is 1 foot here, 1 foot, this is 2 feet here, and these are both 1 by 1. These are going to be 2 shelves, and then this is going to be the top shelf. I wanted to make one that was, kind of bigger so that the cat would have somewhere to lay comfortably. The other thing that I bought at Lowe's was a fence post. It's basically a 4 by 4 inch post. It's actually like 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 or something like that. And it's 8 feet long. So I took, let's say this is the 8-foot post. And you're just going to cut 1 foot off. So this is going to be 1 foot by 7 feet. So, and then of course, this is 4 inches by 4 inches. So just to recap, each one of these shelves is going to be 1 foot by 1 foot. This shelf, the top shelf, is going to be 1 foot by 2 feet, and then the base of the tree is going to be 2 feet by 2 feet. What we're going to end up doing is taking the base and basically finding the center, and that's where the post will go. And in each one of these shelves, we're going to cut out a corner of the shelf like this. And what you can literally do to measure that is take that foot of post that you cut off and just set it, on top of here and just trace around it and then with a saw just cut that notch out. And then for the final piece here, we're going to cut a notch just in the middle like that. And again, all of these notches are going to be the size of the post. So there's the post, and actually you can see here is the shelves with the notch cut out. So here's a picture of the base. I used 4 angle brackets, and I found the center of the sheet of plywood, just using a tape measure to find the center. I took the 1 foot piece of post and set it in the center, and then place the angle brackets around it, and make sure that you put those nice and tight in there so that your post will not be wobbly. For the locations of the shelves, here's your post. It's 7 feet long. The first shelf is going to be here. The second shelf is going to be here. And the third shelf is going to be here. So this is going to be 2 feet, 2 feet, 2 feet, and you should have 1 foot left over at the top. So this is actually more like this. So these are going to be the locations of the shelves, and it doesn't have to be exact on the post. So after you've cut the notches in the piece of plywood, you're going to, lay down your post on the ground and, notch your plywood to fit onto the post, and then set it on the post. Then you're going to take so we're going to use 4 angle brackets for each one of the connections. So I used 4 for the base, and I'm going to use 4 for each shelf. That's why we have 16 total brackets. So I'm putting 1 on the bottom of the shelf and 1 on the top of the shelf, and make sure to offset them so that the screws, don't hit each other. So the way that I did this was I set those there. I put in these 2 screws first. Then I put in the 2 screws that are into the shelf on this side while pushing against this one, which was already attached to the post. Then I screwed in these 2 into the shelf. And then finally, I screwed in these last 2 screws right here. And that ensured a really nice, tight shelf. It's very sturdy. And then also you're going to basically rotate this post over 90 degrees and put 2 more angle brackets, 1 on the bottom and 1 on the top on this side of the post, so that there's 4 angle brackets per shelf. There we go. There's the other shot. So the way I did this was I had these shelves alternating so that the cat could jump up on this one and then easily climb up onto this one. I know it seems like it might be kind of a far ways, but remember that this post is going to be wrapped in sisal rope, and so the cat actually has no trouble getting up. So give her this shelf, and then she can climb up onto that one pretty easily. She actually usually goes straight from the bottom all the way to the top shelf all in one shot. And so here you can kind of see how there's the 2 angle brackets on the top, and then there's 2 angle brackets also on the underside of this shelf, slightly offset from these, and then the same thing with the top brackets here. And these 2 shelves are 2 feet apart from each other. This shelf is 2 feet from the ground. This one is 4 feet from the ground. Here's a picture showing you the last shelf attached. I used 4 angle brackets for this one as well. I used 3 on the underside for this top shelf, 1, 2, and 3. And then I used 1 on the top side in the center. So not on these 2 sides, but on this side over here. So we've got another angle bracket over there. There you go, is an underside view of that top shelf. So the next thing you want to do after you get these brackets attached is attach this whole post to the base. So in order to make sure that you get, your carpet nice and tucked in so that the cat doesn't pull it up, what I did was I took my square carpet at minimum 2.5 by 2.5 feet, and then what I did was I cut an X in the center of the carpet. And then I was able to shove this piece of carpet up over the bottom of the post and then set the post down onto the brackets so that the brackets would not show, and so that I could carpet, this thing down. Also, what I did was I stapled a piece of sisal rope to the base and then ran it through the X coming out of here, so that when I started winding the sisal rope, I started winding it like this, and it also hid these little triangles of carpet that were sticking up on the bottom of the cat tree there. So here's an image. You can see the square of carpet. The X was cut there in the center. It was slid over the post, and then the post was attached to the base where the angle brackets were already pre-placed. You can see the little triangles of carpet there. And what I've done is I've taken the rope, I ran it through the X here and stapled it with a lot of staples to the base. And then I just keep the rope sticking out. And the reason for that is I wanted to make sure that the bottom of the rope was well attached. Then I'm just going to start winding around those little triangles of carpet, and you can see no scraps at all. And the end result was very nice. So yeah, basically just wrap the shelves in carpet and use lots of staples to get it to the underside and make sure that it's nice and sturdy. There's a bottom view of, here's the base, and then the shelves all wrapped in carpet. We're almost done with the top one there. All right, so the next thing I did was attach the palm leaves. Here's a little picture of my palm tree that I got at Michael's. Basically just cut the leaves off and try to imitate the placement on the tree for the post. The way I attached these palm fronds was by taking a drill and drilling into the post in an angled direction to kind of, make the hole kind of be angled upward so that the palm leaf would, stick up and out. It wouldn't be like sticking straight out or anything like that. So I ended up having 13 leaves on my little palm tree. So on 2 of the sides of the post, I did 2 leaves. On the other 2 sides, I did 3 leaves, and then I had 3 sticking out of the top. And I didn't use glue or anything. I just kind of shoved it was a pretty tight fit, so I just kind of shoved those leaves into the drill holes. I think I used a 1/4 inch drill bit. So basically the biggest drill bit that I had. And there it is, standing up. Bare palm tree over here. Imitated, palm section up here. And then all nice and carpeted. And then the sisal rope is just kind of hanging out. So there's the cat already enjoying the palm tree. She jumped on it immediately as soon as I brought it inside. All right, so as far as winding the sisal rope, all I did was really just pull tightly. So each one of these spools of rope is 100 feet long, and I ended up using about 3.5 packages, so approximately 350 feet. Definitely buy at least 4 packages. I bought 5 just in case, but anyway, I wound it around really tightly, making sure to pull real tight. You might want to wear gloves, kind of rub my fingers raw after like an hour of winding. Took me about 4 to 5 hours to wind the entire 7 feet length of the post. About every 4 winds, I put a staple in just to hold it in. So worked out pretty well. So here you can see the first length finished being wound here. This was about 100 feet of rope. Make sure to secure the ends of the rope tightly with staples. And there's the completed product. One thing that I should mention is that we didn't discover at this point, but finally thought of when we got to here, was to make it look really nice and pretty on the shelves. Once we got to this point in the winding, I wound around, stapled, and then just doubled back and just did like a weaving back and forth here where the shelf was and stapled it nice and tightly. And then once I got right above the shelf, I started winding around the entire post again. So that ended up looking really nice. I wish I had figured that out down here where it's a little crisscrossy, but oh well. Yeah, and then basically just wound it all the way to the top, avoiding the leaves, and stapled it to the top. Cat loves it. So that's it. That's how you make a cat tree.